Djibouti is small and thinly populated, but its location on the Horn of Africa gives Djibouti substantial importance, and a number of major nations want a military presence there. Now, VOA senior analyst Jeffrey Young has details.
In real estate, a property's value is usually tied to its location, and those with prime property usually extract that value. Such is the power held by Ismail Omar Guelleh, president of Djibouti, a small 23,000 square kilometer state on the Horn of Africa. Djibouti's location at the Red Sea's southern exit at the Bab el-Mandab and the Gulf of Aden places it next to some of the world's most important shipping lanes. Its proximity to Yemen and Somalia make it a key location for operations against al-Qaeda, al-Shabaab, and other terrorist groups. Djibouti has also been a stable base for fighting piracy in the Indian Ocean. Retired U.S. Ambassador David Shin, who has served in Djibouti, lists the many countries that have a military presence in this strategically critical former French colony.
Djibouti is a very small country with a significant number of military forces from different countries there. The French have been there the longest. Currently have about 1,450 personnel. The Americans are the largest group, mainly for counterterrorism. The Japanese are there with a relatively small naval contingent. The Chinese are putting a facility in, which will be a sizable facility once it's done later this year. And the Saudis have signed an agreement to also establish a military facility in Djibouti.
Camp Lemonnier hosts all but the Chinese. The United States moved into the long-standing French base in 2003 to conduct post-9/11 operations against terrorism. This is U.S. Africa Command, or AFRICOM's, only permanent base in Africa, with some 4,000 people from all branches of the U.S. military. U.S. UAV drones at Camp Lemonnier became visible in 2011, used in attack and reconnaissance operations against terrorists in Yemen and Somalia. In September 2013, U.S. drone operations left Camp Lemonnier for a remote inland facility in the desert called Chalabi Field. This provided both greater privacy and relief from the growing congestion on Lemonnier's runways. North of Chalabi Field and west of Camp Lemonnier, the Chinese Navy is completing construction of a military and commercial port facility, its first base outside of the People's Republic. The move is seen as part of Beijing's global geopolitical strategy, as told by research organization American Enterprise Institute analyst Catherine Zimmerman.
What hasn't really gone noticed is that not only have the Chinese started to build this base next to the U.S. military base inside of Djibouti, but they've also bought land elsewhere, such as in Australia, that's next to a U.S. naval base. And it seems to be a way that the Chinese are starting to parallel our efforts across the world.
Countries pay fees for such military basing rights. For Djibouti's now four-term president, Ismail Omar Guelleh, the fees have paid off handsomely, says Atlantic Council analyst Bronwyn Bruton.
I have heard that the U.S. spends approximately, $65 million a year on Camp Lemonnier, that the Chinese spend approximately $100 million a year on their naval base. I've heard that the Japanese are spending about $1 million for their much, much smaller facility. I don't know what the French are spending, but I would probably guesstimate somewhere in the realm of, $25 million perhaps.
President Guelleh might think he could keep hiking these annual fees, but Ambassador David Shin says the sky may not be the limit.
He has to be careful with that. Not that they're going to be wanting to move out or find some other place to go. That would be very hard to do. But if he overplays his hand on that one, there will be, I think, pushback from all of the actors who are there today.
Still, at any price, there's no place like Djibouti. Jeffrey Young, VOA News.